You won't believe what happened to Jonathan McReynolds at just 35. In a moment that shook fans around the world, the gospel sensation broke down in tears, revealing a truth no one saw coming. Something happened behind the scenes, something that changed everything. And today, for the first time, we're uncovering the story that's been hidden from the public eye. By the end of this video, you'll see Jonathan in a way no one has ever seen before. At 35, Jonathan McReynolds is already a household name in gospel music, a voice that has inspired millions, a songwriter whose lyrics touch the deepest parts of the heart. But behind the awards, the sold-out shows, and the Instagram perfect moments, there's a story that few people have ever seen. What if I told you that the tears fans witnessed were more than just emotion? That behind that breakdown was a revelation so shocking, so personal, that it left even those closest to him stunned? You won't believe what he had been hiding, and what finally came spilling out. In this video, we're going deep. From the pressures of fame, the battles no one talks about, to the moment that pushed Jonathan to his breaking point. Every detail, every truth, every raw emotion will be revealed. This isn't just gossip or speculation. This is the untold story of Jonathan McReynolds, the man behind the music. And trust me, by the end of this video, everything you thought you knew about him will change. But first, let's go back to where it all began, the moment that set everything in motion. Jonathan McReynolds has always been admired for his soulful voice and heartfelt lyrics, but few realize the toll that fame can take on someone so young. Behind the music, the tours, the interviews, and the accolades, there's an immense pressure. A pressure to stay perfect, to always deliver, and to maintain an image that fans love. From the outside, it looks effortless. A calm, humble artist who's grateful for every opportunity. But insiders say that the demands of the gospel industry are anything but easy. Long hours in the studio, constant travel, and the expectation to be a spiritual role model can weigh heavily on anyone. Jonathan himself has hinted in past interviews that there were moments when he felt overwhelmed. He admitted that despite all the success, there were nights he lay awake, questioning if he was enough, wondering if the music and the message were truly reaching people, or if it was just surface-level applause. And then came the turning point, the event that most people didn't see. A quiet moment during a high-profile performance where Jonathan's emotions cracked through the surface. Fans saw the tears, but no one knew what sparked them. What he revealed in that moment wasn't just about personal struggles. It was a confession, a truth about his journey that changed the way people viewed him forever. But before we get there, we need to understand the challenges that brought him to this breaking point. Behind the serene smile and soulful performances, Jonathan McReynolds has faced battles that few outside his inner circle have ever seen. Mental exhaustion, the pressure of expectation, and the weight of carrying not just his own dreams but the hopes of an entire audience created an invisible storm. Sources close to him have shared that Jonathan often felt isolated. Despite being surrounded by friends, collaborators, and fans, there was a loneliness that crept in. A quiet, nagging feeling that no one truly understood the depth of his journey. Every lyric, every note, was not just music. It was a message born from personal trials, yet even that sometimes felt like not enough. Spiritual leaders in his circle have hinted that Jonathan wrestled with moments of doubt. In private, he questioned whether he was fulfilling his purpose or simply going through the motions. The very faith that inspired his music sometimes felt like a double-edged sword, demanding unwavering devotion while offering little respite for his human struggles. And then there were the expectations of the industry. The world sees awards, chart-topping hits, and sold-out shows, but they don't see the relentless deadlines, the constant comparisons, and the subtle pressure to outdo himself with every release. For an artist who thrives on authenticity, this pressure can be suffocating. Fans noticed cracks forming, small moments of hesitation during live performances, interviews where he seemed quieter, almost weighed down. Yet few understood that these were not just nerves or stage anxiety. They were signs of a deeper internal conflict, the kind that would eventually lead to the breakdown the world witnessed. But the real shock wasn't just the stress or the doubt. It was the secret he carried, the revelation he had kept hidden for years. Something personal, something profound, that once exposed, changed the way people perceived Jonathan forever. And here's where it gets even more intense, because the very moment that exposed his vulnerability happened in front of a crowd that had no idea what was coming. The night it happened started like any other, a high-profile performance in front of thousands of fans, lights shining bright, the energy electric. Jonathan McReynolds took the stage with his signature calm confidence, his voice flowing effortlessly, carrying every note like it was a story meant to heal. But behind that performance, something had been building, a storm no one could see. Weeks of sleepless nights, the pressure of creating music that always needed to mean more, personal struggles, and the constant expectations of the gospel community were all converging. It was a weight he had carried quietly, one that he had hidden behind smiles, interviews, and stage presence. Midway through one of his most soulful numbers, something shifted. His hands trembled slightly, his voice caught on a note, and for a split second, the polished exterior slipped. The audience thought it was passion. They didn't know it was exhaustion breaking through. Then, as he began to speak between songs, the words started to falter. I need to be honest with you tonight, he said, his voice barely above a whisper at first. There are things I've been carrying, things that I've hidden because I wanted to be strong, because I wanted to inspire. And then it happened. Tears streamed down his face, uncontrollable, raw, visible to everyone. The crowd gasped, unsure what to do, witnessing a side of Jonathan that no one had ever seen. What came next shocked even his closest friends. In that moment of vulnerability, he revealed a deeply personal truth, something about his journey that had remained hidden for years. He spoke of moments of doubt, of fear, of wondering if he was truly enough, not just as an artist, but as a person striving to live up to expectations. He confessed how certain pressures had affected his mental and spiritual health, and how, for years, he had carried a burden alone, thinking no one could understand. It wasn't just a confession, it was a revelation, a real human moment that reminded everyone watching that even the brightest stars can struggle in silence. And while many were moved by his honesty, some were shocked, unable to reconcile the confident, inspiring performer they knew with the vulnerability he displayed. This breakdown wasn't just an emotional outburst, it was a turning point. It opened conversations about mental health in gospel music, about the pressures artists face behind the scenes, and about the courage it takes to show vulnerability in a world that often demands perfection. But what truly made this moment unforgettable wasn't just the tears or the confession. It was what happened immediately after. As the crowd held its breath, waiting for him to continue, Jonathan hinted at another truth, something so unexpected that it would leave fans questioning everything they thought they knew. The moment Jonathan McReynolds revealed the truth, the atmosphere in the venue shifted. What began as a performance had become a confessional, a window into the soul of a man the world had only ever seen in flashes of perfection. And what he shared wasn't just personal, it was something that shook the gospel community and fans worldwide. Jonathan spoke about the hidden battles he had been facing, not just professional pressures, but deeply personal struggles. He revealed that despite his outward success, he had been wrestling with self-doubt, fear of failure, and moments of spiritual uncertainty that he had never shared publicly. For years, he carried a silent burden, feeling like he had to be a pillar of strength while privately questioning whether he was living up to his own expectations, or even God's plan for him. But the revelation didn't stop there. Jonathan disclosed a private crisis that had nearly changed the course of his career. He hinted at a period where he considered stepping away from music entirely, feeling that the weight of expectations from fans, peers, and even himself was too heavy to bear. This wasn't speculation or rumors. These were his own words, raw and unfiltered, spoken to thousands who had no idea of the inner storms he had weathered. The tears weren't just about exhaustion, they were about liberation. In that moment, Jonathan was freeing himself from years of secrecy, from the fear of being judged, from the pressure of always having to be strong and inspirational. The crowd witnessed not just a breakdown, but a breakthrough, a man confronting the deepest parts of himself and choosing to be honest in front of the world. Fans took to social media immediately, sharing clips of the moment, many expressing empathy, admiration, and shock. Some admitted they had always assumed that Jonathan's life was flawless, that his faith and music somehow shielded him from the struggles others face. His revelation became a catalyst for discussions about mental health in the church, the hidden struggles of artists, and the courage it takes to show vulnerability in public spaces. Peers in the industry also reacted. Fellow gospel artists and mentors praised his courage, describing the moment as a lesson in authenticity and a wake-up call for all of us about the importance of emotional honesty. For Jonathan, the revelation was not just a confession, it was a turning point, a moment that redefined his relationship with his audience, his art, and even himself. But the story doesn't end there. While the revelation was powerful, what followed next, how Jonathan coped, how he transformed his struggles into growth, and the way it shaped his music was even more surprising. It's one thing to break down in front of thousands. It's another to rise from that moment stronger, more self-aware, and more determined to inspire. After the public breakdown and the shocking revelation, many wondered, how does a man so revered in the gospel community recover from such an exposed moment? How does someone take the vulnerability of tears in front of thousands and transform it into strength? For Jonathan McReynolds, the answer was a journey of reflection, healing, and rediscovering his purpose. In the weeks following the incident, Jonathan reportedly took time away from the spotlight. He stepped back from the stage, from interviews, and from the pressures of social media. Instead, he focused inward, spending time in prayer, meditation, and honest conversations with mentors and close friends. This period wasn't about hiding, it was about rebuilding, about understanding the emotions that had poured out so publicly, and learning how to channel them productively. During this time, Jonathan confronted some of the toughest truths of his life. He faced the reality that he had been holding on to guilt, fear, and self-imposed expectations for years. He examined how his perfectionism had affected his creativity, his relationships, and even his spiritual life. And through this reflection, he began to find clarity, not just about who he was as an artist, but who he was as a person. One source close to him shared that Jonathan began writing songs with a new intensity, not just about faith and inspiration, but about honesty and real-life struggles. His lyrics started to reflect the journey he had been through, vulnerability, doubt, growth, and the resilience it took to keep moving forward. Fans began noticing a change in his music, a depth and rawness that resonated on an entirely new level. At the same time, he became more open about his mental health journey, encouraging conversations within the gospel community about the importance of acknowledging struggles, seeking support, and embracing authenticity. His breakdown, once seen as a moment of weakness, gradually became a source of inspiration. People admired his courage for showing that even someone as gifted and successful as Jonathan McReynolds could experience pain, doubt, and vulnerability. But the rise wasn't instantaneous. There were moments of uncertainty, setbacks, and lingering fear that the public might misunderstand him or misjudge his intentions. He admitted to moments of hesitation before performing again, questioning if fans would still relate to him after seeing the raw side he had revealed. Yet each performance, each song, each candid conversation was a step forward, a reclaiming of his voice, his mission, and his peace of mind. By confronting his struggles head-on and sharing his story, Jonathan did more than recover. He transformed. His journey became a testament to resilience, authenticity, and the power of vulnerability. He showed that even when life exposes your deepest struggles, those same struggles can be the source of your greatest growth. And as the story continues, it becomes clear that this isn't just about a single emotional breakdown. It's about how Jonathan McReynolds turned one of the most public and raw moments of his life into a catalyst for change, not just in his career, but in the hearts of fans who saw themselves reflected in his honesty. Jonathan McReynolds' story is more than just a moment of tears on stage. It's a testament to the human experience, how even those who seem strong, talented, and unwavering carry battles that the world may never see. At 35, he reminded millions that vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. From the pressures behind the spotlight to the hidden struggles no one knew about, to the emotional breaking point and the shocking revelation, Jonathan's journey has been a roller coaster of emotion, introspection, and ultimately growth. His willingness to show his true self opened the door for countless conversations about mental health, emotional honesty, and the realities of life as a public figure in the gospel world. Fans and fellow artists alike have been inspired by his transparency. What could have been seen as a moment of fragility instead became a beacon of hope, proving that confronting your deepest fears and doubts can lead to extraordinary personal and professional transformation. The very tears that shocked the world became a catalyst for connection, understanding, and shared humanity. And the story doesn't just end with Jonathan. His journey is a reminder to all of us, whether in the spotlight or living quietly in our own lives, that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to feel, and it's okay to reach out for help. Strength isn't just about holding everything together. Sometimes it's about letting go and showing the world who you really are. So, what's next for Jonathan McReynolds? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear. The man behind the music has become even more relatable, more human, and more inspiring. His story will continue to influence fans, fellow artists, and anyone struggling silently, proving that authenticity and vulnerability are among the greatest strengths a person can have. If you were moved by Jonathan's story, if it made you reflect on your own journey, or inspired you to be honest about your struggles, take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more revealing, high-impact stories like this one. Don't forget to hit the notification bell because the next story we uncover might be even more shocking than this. Remember, vulnerability is powerful, and Jonathan McReynolds just showed the world why it matters.